Right, good morning, Lloyd.
How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm very, very well. Right, the reason that we're going to do this is obviously because of lockdown and everybody's getting completely starved of football information, particularly all our loyal supporters at Whitstable Town. So I would
Yeah.
just start off by saying welcome to everybody. The plan is that we'll split the season into about six sections, and I will be talking to Lloyd and asking him his views on games that have gone past, the future of the football club, how things have worked out, considering that Lloyd's new manager for us, and also came at a time when we've got a new chairman, new board, the club's reformed. It's been a season of change, so it's been quite a roller coaster in many, many ways. Interestingly, last season we finished the season in 12th place, which was acceptable. You know, it was good. We were in the league still, and that's really what we were looking for. And now it's about consolidation. And up until the league was suspended, you certainly achieved that. So, if I may, Lloyd, I'll start by talking to you about pre-season and how you felt that went. We started off. Started in July. First game was away to Thanet United, and then we played Holland and Blair.
Yeah.
We won 2-0 away at Thanet, and then we drew 2-2 at Holland and Blair. How did you feel the season started, albeit pre-season friendlies?
Well, we knew that we were the amount of turnover of players was really quite high,
Yeah,
and it was always going to be a difficult start for us, to be perfectly honest. I was kind of well aware of like I said, the amount of turnover of players, asking the players to gel together at a time where it was all new to certain players, and so it was always going to be a sort of a difficult start. But we assessed it where we went with two games fairly, but we felt would be a lot more fairly comfortable to build ourselves into the pre-season routine, the habits. The Thanet United game, 2-0, I believe that was, if my memory recalls correctly. Goals from Tarek and Marcus Elliott. And it was a good exercise for us. We had a good squad. We were able to look at a few players as well. I remember we were able to walk away with sort of 4 or 5 real positives from that game. That regardless of the result, there was more positives to come out of it than negatives. I remember Marcus Evans looked fantastic when he first made it. That was his debut. At centre half, very composed, a Rolls Royce of a centre half at his young age, and really, really impressed and pleased. Liam Gillies at the time came through as well, so it was an opportunity for a few players on the should we say, to look at to see if we're making sure we're heading in the right direction. I believe we walked away with those 2 games thinking, yeah, okay, that was a solid start for us.
Yeah, it really was. And then following on from that, we had the first home match was Cray Wanderers. Well, in the end, we actually lost 5-1. But what a good try! I mean, their guy was on fire. Joe Taylor got 5 goals.
Yeah.
He was unplayable that day.
We set out a really challenging and a really tough pre-season schedule, and there were pros and cons that came from that. But what I wanted to make sure of was that the players knew that that's where we want to head. I mean, I picked Cray Wanderers, I picked Folkestone, I picked Bowers and Pitsea, sides that have been together for a long, long time, and really that was an aim for us to say, right, okay, that's where we really want to head. We didn't expect to get much, should we say, from a results perspective out of it, but I think there was a method to the madness that we walked away thinking, "God, they're good sides. They're really, really good sides." And as I said, our angle was, as I was saying to the players, is that look, they are benchmarks, they are targets for us, and if we're competing with those sides, then it's given us it's a good platform for us to be able to build on. And I remember the Cray Wanderers game; they were exceptional, and not only that as well, there was the fitness side of things, which I felt was really, really key. We knew we weren't going to see an awful lot of the ball because their ball retention, as a side that they are probably arguably one of the best in the area. Well, certainly in the southeast, in the Isthmian League, of being able to retain and keep possession of the ball. And I knew that we were going to be working extremely hard on the fitness side of things to be able to compete. So there were pros and cons that come out of it, but as I said, more pros in my eyes. Although the reflection of the scoreline probably sort of made people's eyes open a little bit, but not to myself. I wasn't too concerned about the result, just the importance of what we were trying to achieve from the game.
Well, even with the scoreline at 5-1, we still made a game of it. They didn't have to walk in the park.
No, absolutely not, And I think that, like I said, there were lots of positives and pros to come out of it. That being one, and as I said, we were able to sit down as a group after that and look and say, right, we know that's where they are. They've been together for an awfully long time. They're a very well-oiled machine. And that's the target. That's our goal and target, to be able to sort of achieve something like that. And that that was the benchmark for us. So an important exercise.
It was, and then that followed up with obviously the game against Folkestone. A good turnout both games, which was lovely. We lost 3-1, but again, it was a very competitive game.
Yeah, it was. It was actually probably one of the games where we played probably our best football that game pre-season. And I remember speaking to Cugs afterwards, and he was full of compliments, considering, like I said, we were a mixture, a complete new side that was put together at such a short amount of time. And I do remember us walking away. It was a couple of silly mistakes, I think, that pretty much cost us the goals. But that exercise, it was the first time that we walked in as a group after the game and said, we're not fearful of these teams. And I remember the players saying that well, if they're going to be up there challenging in the Isthmian Prem, then really we've not got an awful lot to worry about, because we felt that we were heading in the right direction. Although we knew that Folkestone were, they were a league above and a class above, but I certainly felt that the players did gain quite a bit of confidence from that game, albeit they lost 3-1. But there was positives to come out of that game, which was really, really encouraging.
Well, that really takes me on to a point that we'll raise later on, in future interviews, which was, although we've obviously not won as many games as we should have won, perhaps we've drawn far more than we should have done, perhaps, but we're not an easy team to beat, and we're in there. We're in all these games.
Yeah, I agree. I think there was only one. Again, we'll discuss it later on, but when you look back, there was probably only one game in the course of the season, which I believe was probably Sevenoaks away, where we did, we didn't turn up and we did have a bad day. But the rest of the times, you'd like to think, okay, we're in there with a shout. And considering like I said, especially early on in the season, there haven't been many fixtures apart from the Sevenoaks one, like I mentioned, that you look at and think, right, okay, we didn't deserve anything out of the game, and I think that's certainly a trait of ours, that we are a very, very strong and hard team to beat, and clubs sort of know that they're up against us, that they're not going to get an easy ride for 90 minutes.
Well, it's strange you should bring Sevenoaks up, but as you say, we're going to talk about that later on. But I spoke to Andrew Gidley after the game. Andrew Gidley is like a reporter for.
Yes.
You know Andrew well.
I know Andrew. Yeah, plenty of interviews with Andrew. Yeah.
Yeah, and he reads the game. He knows his football, and he did say to me after the game, "We expected more from you," and that's his exact words.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
really thought we were going to get a tough one.
Yeah, that was the one game where we walked away, and to be honest, I made a few changes after that one as well, and it was probably the one game that we look back on and which was full of a lot of disappointments. A side that I wasn't happy with, and a team that I wasn't happy with, and to be honest, fortunately, I'd like to think it was probably the only game that we let ourselves down that season. I don't think there was many other times that we did, to be honest, but certainly that one we did.
And another interesting game in the pre-season fixtures, of course, was the one where we entertained Margate. We lost 6-4. Wow, what a game! What a game!
Yeah, it was a crazy game, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Again, I said to the boys at pre-season that it's win or learn rather than win or lose, and we learnt an awful lot from that. I said before, the amount of mistakes that we're making, we need to rectify them really very soon, sharp. That was the first game that Aaron Milbank played as well. So again, we walked away with I think Aaron got 2, or did he get hat trick? I think he got hat trick actually.
He got hat trick. You told him after the game.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. He literally just arrived back was it that morning, or was it the night before? We'd been out travelling for 6 months in Asia and around the Mountain East, and he was really keen to play. And I said, look, I'll give you 45 minutes, or I'll give you half an hour, whatever you feel you can do. And to be honest, he was badgering me right from the start. Can you start? And I said, no, you're not going to start. You've been travelling around the world for the last 24 hours. So, and he came on and made a real impression. And to be honest, he's a player that I knew an awful lot of, and we were able to then sign him straight after the game, which I felt was again. So when you look at that, although the result was a bit of a strange one, that's what the pre-season was for. And if you're able to walk away with the quality of player like we did from that, signing Aaron Milbank, the quality of player that we did from then and again, it was another worthwhile exercise.
Well, just a word on that. He actually scored his 3 goals in 17 minutes. So I think he came on in but it was in 17 minutes, right? He literally had 17 minutes on the pitch. Well, no, probably 20. And then bang, bang, bang.
Came on, got his hat trick, and then went off and agreed terms with us. So that was a pleasing one that we were able to get Aaron to sign. Obviously, he's worked with me previously at Ramsgate, and real good lad. Ticks all the boxes that I would like from a striker, and I felt at that time we were looking for someone else to work with Marcus Elliott as well, because there were 2 slightly different players that offered us different things. That's great. That was again something that we walked away very pleased with him on board. And
then we lost 3-0 to Bowers and Pitsea, bigger. Another tough game for us.
Again, like I said, I don't. It sounds like you'd said 4 defeats there. I think you just mentioned, but we were playing against some real good sides, and Bowers and Pitsea were, again, method to the madness. If you want to say, I knew Cray Valley's ball retention would be really, really impressive. I knew Bowers and Pitsea were the complete flip and the complete opposite. They're extremely direct. They're extremely big. And they were going to present us with a different challenge. And considering that we had youngsters playing the likes of Marcus Evans, like I said.
Sean played, did he?
Who played? Sorry.
Did he play? The young kid?
No, I don't think he was. No, I don't think he was with us at that time. No, I don't think he was with us at that time. But I think that pre-season time, Tariq, Ozzy Prony was obviously with us. It was an eye opener for a few of those players that actually, look, if we want to play the style that we want to play, you've got to be able to compete and mix with it against the sides as physical and as strong as the likes of Bowers and Pitsea, because I think they'd just come off the back of winning the Ryman or the Bostik, whatever it was at the time, the Bostik North. So I knew that they were a really, really, really strong side. And like I said, I knew it was going to be a real challenging one. If we walked away with anything as a results perspective, great. But again, it was pleasing in some aspects that we could walk away from that game, sort of highlighting a few things that we need to work on and improve on. So that was in a strange way, I was pleased with it.
And then we finished off the pre-season with wins against Bromley, where we won 3-0, and then New Romney, where we won 5-0. So going into the first league game of the season, we were on a bit of a high then.
Yeah, I think I remember I've got a link with Bromley, which is nice. So obviously I know Neil Smith really, really well, the Bromley manager, so that he was able to bring a side down for us to be able to a mixture of young pros as well as some of the sort of apprentices that he has. So it was there that we were able to keep an eye on. Then great. Again, it was it was a nice exercise. I think it was important that we went into the season with a couple of wins under our belt, although the opposition wasn't the most the most challenging, but it's important that a few boys hit the back of the net and a few boys sort of walk away with with positives as in confidence. I think the New Romney one was scrambled together at the last minute, and I'm trying to remember why. I think someone pulled out at the last minute. I want to say Beckenham, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I think you could be right. Yeah, it was a sudden change.
Yeah, yes. Something in the back of my mind is saying that Beckenham pulled out at the last minute, so I was able to salvage together again. A side that we were able to experiment with. We were able to look at different things, and as well as nicking a few goals, it was important that the boys found the back of the net and left. Its confidence, as it were, is another key aspect. So to walk away with 2 wins heading into the first game of the season, I think that was important.
Yeah, it certainly was. Well, the first game of the season was actually at home to Sittingbourne, but we'll touch on that next time we meet. I just want to reflect not so much on the season, but on your first tenure and how you felt it's gone so far. Also, I'd like you to pass a comment on the way that your boys have accepted this situation regarding the awful position that we're all in, and how generous they all were, saying that they weren't interested about getting paid. All they were worried about was everybody keeping safe. I thought that was a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think, touching on your first point, I think that if we look over the course of the season, I think we all knew that it was going to be a big change. The work that Scott had done for 3-4 years that he was here was marvelous. And they said my relationship with Scott continues to be is first class, and Scott was the one that actually introduced me to the new board and said, look, would you be interested in coming over and taking over my position? And once I was then able to meet the new board and the ambitions of the club, as well as the benefits of the youth side of Steve, obviously Steve Clayton taking charge, it was the right thing to do, and it was the right challenge for me, which was really, really important. And how we was then able to move forward for the season was, I knew it was going to be tough and challenging. I think the best way of summing it up is to think that, and I've said this to a few of my players as well, that in the middle to late February this season, when we sadly got defeated by Cray Valley away, with the 2 goals in the last 5 minutes or whatever it was. But if you actually looked, and again, it's all hypothetical, so I don't want to sort of make it sound like sour grapes that we didn't, but if we had held on for that result, we were actually sitting 6th in the league. And considering, so if we as a club would have turned around at the beginning of the season, at the beginning of our tenure altogether, then you would have turned around and said, right, in the middle to late February, you're going to be sitting 6th. I think we would have all snapped each other's hands off. So when you look at it from that to where we've actually finished the league, finished in the position, I think that's the lowest position we've been in all season. So it's strange how we knew we were in a real tight pack. I think the 14th that we finished in is a pretty unfair reflection of where we were. I also believe, being totally honest, that 6th would probably have been, an unfair, not exactly where we should have finished. But I think somewhere in the middle, top 10, I think was probably where we were at as a side. And if you look at that over the course of the year, I think that just goes to show that how far we've progressed and how we've continued to do that. Touching on your second point there, Tone, which was obviously the players during this difficult time, I think we're all just reflecting on it in our own ways. And what I mean by that is that we've never been in this position before. So as a manager, the only thing that I can do to my players is just be honest and upfront and say, listen, guys, this is what we've got to deal with. We're not hiding anything. I'm not hiding anything from the players. The conversations that I've had with Steve was obviously that we're unsure of these financial times at the moment because we now lose money on the revenue, etc., and money coming through from the ticket. Very difficult times, and those players were just completely acceptable of the situation, and the boys on contract, they waived their contract money. And to me, I think that goes to show the quality of the group that we have. There's no egos within that group. I think we must understand that they're the sort of players that I like and I've worked with before at previous clubs. That really the team spirit that we have is fantastic. And as I said, going through these times that are just unprecedented. We've never been in this position before as people or as football clubs.
Very true.
I think everyone just realised the severity of the situation and was happy to do their bit.
Yeah, you're right. And interesting as well, the supporters must like your style of football, because we finished 5th in the league as far as attendances was concerned, which was brilliant. Really, really good.
I saw that one. That was really, really pleasing. I think that, look, there's am I 100% happy with exactly the way we're playing? No, I'll be honest with that and say that if you're happy,
I love the fact that you just said that.
If you're happy and satisfied with the way things are going, then you're in the wrong job and the wrong position. So there are certain times that there's certain things I'd like us to do better. That's not just the players. I think that's everyone regarding the management, regarding the club, everything that we can do, everything as a team united together. The one thing that I do think is really important, if you're touching upon the attendances and the thing, and every time we do have the versatility as a team and as a group to be able to mix up our style of play in a very, very, very in a clever way that demands of what the game requires. We have the ability to be able to switch it. So whether or not we're a very possession-based side, I think if you look at some of our away performances, if you look at the likes of Welling, if you look at the likes of Guernsey away, and I know they're out on video, so you're able to sort of watch those. Our possession and retention at times was first class. We do have to be aware that, sadly, sometimes, whether it's conditions, it's pitch conditions, whatever it is, we probably just have to be a little bit more pragmatic. But we're trying to find the balance right. And if you get the balance right, then I think fans appreciate that. And it's nice to see that over the course of the season, that finishing 5th, I think it's a great result for the club. The supporters have been fantastic, and they continue to be. And as I said, we're doing everything we can to bring them to the Belmont, because, as I said, if it's a happy and enjoyable place to come, then everyone benefits.
Coming back, yeah, that's great. It's really good. Well, Lloyd, this has been really good fun. I've enjoyed it. I hope you have as well.
Yeah, loved it.
What the plan is that we're going to go forward now month by month, so you can do a little bit more in-depth analysis of the league games, which obviously have got a bearing at the end of the season. But having said that, of course, it's now been suspended. But you make some really good points, particularly when you said about the fact that we would have gone 6 if we'd have got a result then. It's those little things, finite things, that all of a sudden, change the mentality a little bit, and you push on and you go. Yeah, I think I've been very pleased with the season. I know that Steve's been very happy as well with himself, happy with the relationship that he's built with you. But it's a learning curve for everybody, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I'm not naive enough to know that. I'm not naive enough to say that, or not to say, should I say, that I get everything exactly right. I think that the one thing that is, the relationship that myself and Steve have, as well as me with all the other directors as well, is first class. But the one thing is, we're just open and honest, and our dialogue is just really good. It's just straight to the point. There's no beating about the bush. It's the way that a business and a relationship has to work. And I'm very. I wouldn't be, like I said when I first started this interview, I wouldn't have been coming to this club if I didn't feel that the project was right and it was working with the right people. And that for me is key, because if that doesn't happen, then I don't enjoy it. So if I don't enjoy it, then what's the point of doing it? If that makes sense. But to make sure that you're able to, and you make sure that you're able to, the relationship you have with good people working hard, then yourself, it drives you on to do even better and even more. Over the course of reflection of the season, with the Kent Senior Cup Senior Cup semi-final, as it were, I think we can probably look back and, like you said, probably be happy with what we have, knowing that could do better is our aim.
Yeah, sound like a schoolmaster, could do better.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it's like my
let's wrap it up there, and we'll continue this. As I said, anybody that's picking this up, we're going to be doing this in probably 5 or 6 sections, so you get plenty of chance to listen to what Lloyd's got to say about the games that have gone forward. And also, when we finish up, finally wrap up, we'll be talking about the season to come, whenever it starts. Goodness me, who knows? But obviously, I'll be picking Lloyd's brains to see what sort of plans he's got. No doubt, knowing the managers, they've all been on the phone to players and chatting and all sorts will go on. So you never know. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. Thank you very much for watching, and cheers, Lloyd. You've been a star. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.